Larry asked me to talk about vision, programs, and actions, and that's sort of what I'm going to do, and that's what I'm going to lay it out this morning to you. Again, Larry, thanks for the invite, and also thanks to your great team for really a first-class conference. I really appreciate being part of it, and thanks for the honor of being here, sir. Thanks. Well, after this morning's presentations and a lot of the sessions that I've been at this week, I have to say I think we're in violent agreement on many things. So what I'm gonna display for you here in the next couple of minutes is one of my core competencies, which is restating the obvious and restating that which has already been said, because a lot of this stuff that I'm going to share with you has already been said. So I'd ask for y'all's patience real quickly. And how do I operate? There we go. I don't need to tell you all that we place a large number of demands on our planet, and we share some particularly problematic and continually growing water resources challenges. In this regard, I think as we look at these, I want to make the point that time might be our enemy. However, water is not. Water, we in the Corps of Engineers think of, as you all think of water, as a resource, a vital resource that we need to steward properly along its courses and its life cycle. And Larry, if I could, I'd like to share with you all a personal commitment of my stewardship for water resources. I don't know if you can see it on the slides, but if you'd focus please on the center portion, which is titled Increasing Water Demand of that slide. And somewhere in there you'll be able to see there's a sort of a bar chart, and I'll describe it to you. Really what that shows is relative requirement for water in producing different resources. And they are coffee, tea. As you take a look at that, beer happens to be at the bottom of the list. So I'm here to tell you that my personal commitment is to the environment and to stewardship of water resources is to drink more beer. I'd invite everybody to do the exact same thing, huh? Yeah, okay. Kindred souls out there, huh? That's exactly where I want to go. So, you've seen this slide before. Jeff has shown this, and we do think in the Corps of Engineers of water resources in a life cycle. This is our doctrine, how we think about the problem, and that's critical, different from what we do or how we do or where we're going. How we think about the problem is in terms of a life cycle. The four phases drive consistency intergovernmentally with, frankly, the event as our report card. It helps us focus on supporting your all's priorities and your objectives, and it aligns USACE's programs towards that objective so we can serve you better, frankly, and that's what we're all about. It's, as we're finding out, it's forcing us to be more risk managers than just emergency managers. So the whole notion of risk management is key. And what we're also finding is that if we examine and think about this problem, that it's better if we spend more time on the left side of the circle as opposed to the right side of the circle, that if we do a little bit more thinking, a little bit more planning, that we can identify those vital few actions that we need to undertake together to drive down the cost so we don't have to spend as much when the event happens or recovering from it. And Jeff also showed this slide. If that was our doctrine about how we think about the problem, this is our doctrine of how we go about solving it. Frankly, in our view, flood risk management is a team sport, better enjoyed and better done when everybody's collaborating and everybody plays. This approach highlights for us both structural and non-structural, and to key on what Doug said this morning, it helps us create those interoperable, multidimensional, sort of combinable solutions that go beyond the binary either or. and it helps us get to that manageable or tolerable residual risk that we all understand will always be there. And it also allows us to take on problems either from a system, watershed approach, or a single point source as well. We think about risk as well, however, in a deliberate and a rigorous fashion, and we break it into its fundamental elements, the external threats to the system or to the point, the vulnerability of that system or point to those threats, and then frankly the consequences that may result in failure or partial failure. It allows us, this approach and the rigor that's associated with it allows us to index our portfolio in a risk-informed way and to prioritize actions so as to inform appropriate strategies, either individually, geographically, or programmatically. And it offers two big points in this approach, as it were. It offers us a common operating picture from which to launch into an unknowable future, and it also allows us to do either point or systematic sensitivity analysis as we change either the threat or vulnerability or the consequence. Well, if we talk about strategy, and if this is our overarching strategy, I think of it in terms of ends, ways, and means. So if we call our strategy, and we do in the core integrated water resources management, our ends would be this enlightened stewardship of water, and again, as a resource, not the enemy or something that we need to protect ourselves from. The ways we get there is what we like to think of as shared vision planning. It's important. Words have meaning here. Shared vision planning, that we share not only the vision, but we plan to get there, and allows us a longer view. A wider field of vision allows us to be more strategic and less tactical, though we can be tactical as we need. And if we're talking then the means to get there, those resources, it allows us to address and engage the full water cycle, flood to drought. It allows us to leverage appropriate technologies to develop as necessary the appropriate investment strategies, and it allows us to operationalize actions through programs like Silver Jackets, and I'll talk to those in just a couple of slides. Our program is an overarching, integrating and synchronizing, integrating, taking many and bringing it into one, and then synchronizing in space, time, and purpose. And it allows us to embody actions or bring actions to the entire life cycle, puts our programs in a broader interagency context, and allows us to articulate a broader value proposition. And it helps us inform, as Dr. Knight talked about, a national strategy towards water resources. That's sort of the 30,000 foot level. I thought it might interest you if we went over sort of how we fund this. So talking about the means again on the strategy. Our administration and OMB likes to talk with us or have the dialogue with us in terms of business lines, and those are down the column on the left. And the Congress likes to talk with us in terms of accounts. So you see those across the top: investigations, construction, O&M, and the like. And these are the programs that our office and flood risk management deal with. So in the flood and coastal storm damage reduction, we spend we budget about 1.4, 1.5, and Jeff Jensen is really the person who works through this. 1.6 billion a year, and that's both in the inland and coastal areas. And when we see that, there's highlighted in yellow is sort of the overall program, and in blue are what we call these remaining items, those national for the good of the order programs. So what I'm showing there is National Flood Risk Management Program, about $3 million a year. The Critical Infrastructure and Resilience Program, which is in the flood and coastal business line, in the O&M appropriation, about $6.5 million a year, and that's linked directly with DHS, both on the classified and unclassified side. And then emergency management, we run what's called the National Emergency Preparedness Program, specifically to that one phase of the life cycle and preparedness, to the tune of about $6.75 million a year. I'm showing a $27 million budgeted figure for our flood or our flood control and coastal emergencies appropriation. We do that every year. Historically, we don't receive appropriations for that, but well, we'll continue to do that because it's the right thing to do. And this is what our program looks like within the overall Civil Works portfolio of, again, depending on the year, historically around $5 billion or so.